When the stock markets crash, when it crashes on Wall Street, Main Street wakes up and realizes how bad it really is and how they're hurting. That's the downside. Not that they're going to be losing money in it. They feel the reality of it. Mm-hmm. They hide the reality of it with the equity markets going up.
Right.
So that's the downside of it. No, we're going to go into what we call, they call it stagflation, stagnant economies and declining economic growth. We call it dragflation, declining growth and rising inflation. Inflation is going to keep going up.
You're watching Capitalcosm. My name is Danny, and today's guest is Gerald Celente by way of the Trends Journal. Gerald, thank you so much for coming on, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. And I was just telling you, you picked a really good time to come on. I mean, what better time to come on, actually, given all that's going on. But before we dive right in, I'd just like to let you guys know in the audience that we do have a special 10% off discount on Gerald Celente's Trends Journal. Just click on the link down in the description box or the pinned comment and type in coupon code CapitalCosm. It's the name of the channel. You get a special 10% discount off of your Trends Journal. So, Gerald, I'll let you take this from the top. I mean, I'm looking at the markets right now. It is August 3rd. It is one day after Liberation Day. And I'm seeing the Dow Jones down 3.7%, S&P down 4.4%. NASDAQ down 5.6%. I think we're still, 2 points away, at least with the NASDAQ, of hitting a circuit breaker or something like that. But what do you make of the current price action going on in across all markets, really, aside from maybe gold? Let me check gold really quick. Gold is at 31.57. It did come back down to a 3,000 handle, but now it's rebounded back. It's only down about 0.3% today. So what do you make of the market's reaction and Trump's overarching Liberation Day tariff act?
Well, go back to our Trends Journal and look at the cover of February 4th. .com bust 2.0. How much is the NASDAQ down today?
Almost 6%.
Okay. The NASDAQ was going down before. The markets were weakening before this. The markets have been way overvalued, artificially propped up. Oh, you don't hear from the Magnificent Seven anymore. And it's the tariffs obviously have made a very bad situation worse. So we're going to have a .com bust. The markets are crashing in front of everybody's eyes. You saw gold today. Gold was down almost $70 today. Mm-hmm. And it bounced back. And the reason being is that he didn't put tariffs on gold. And that was one of the fears when all that gold started pouring in to New York from the UK. They were concerned they were going to put tariffs on.
Right.
So the tariffs, by the way, I agree with the tariffs. I mean, I want to make this clear. I'm a political atheist. To me, anybody that says, I'm a Republican, I'm a conservative, I'm a Democrat, I'm a liberal, grow up. Could your mind get bigger than a little stupid club that you belong to? I can't stand Trump, what he's doing to Israel, the slaughter of the Palestinians in front of everybody's eyes. I hate what he's doing in the bombs away over Yemen. I don't want to hear his crap that Greenland is our country and screw off about the Panama Canal where you robbed the damn joint back in the early 1900s. All right? Can't stand him about that. On the tariffs. Once upon a time, there used to be a thing in America called manufacturing. And we had a middle class. I'm up in Kingston, New York. Oh, Gant shirt factories. I got dishes my aunt left me. When she died, the kids gave them to me. Syracuse, China. Made in Syracuse, New York. There were factories all over America. That slime ball little piece of scum crap was one of the worst. Every time he got caught with his pants down, bombs away over Baghdad, Bill Clinton. Oh, I didn't have sex with that woman, Monica Lewinsky. Oh, no, she only... Oh, that wasn't sex. That little bastard gave us NAFTA. Oh, you forgot about that one, everybody, huh? Bring the jobs down to Mexico. You don't need the manufacturing here. Let them go down there so you can get cheap labor so they can make more money. Oh, and they give me the dough. Now I'm a multi-millionaire, some little piece of scum from Arkansas. But hey, I'm almost worth $1 billion now because I get paid off. Brought China into the World Trade Organization. Let's go back to the dot-com bust. Tracking trends, you make connections between different fields. Before Bill Clinton brought China into the World Trade Organization, 10% of 18-year-olds out of a country of 1.4 billion went to college. Now, almost 70%. Young people are totally AI high-tech addicted. They're not stupid over there. Oh, by the way, America's dumbing down in front of our eyes. Oh, it's a freak show. So anyway, now you got all these kids going to school over there, college. Everybody AI and high-tech addicted. That's why China is going to be taking over the AI world and the dot-com bust is going to happen. Go back to our cover of February 4th. Dot-com bust. Take a look at the Hang Seng Index. It was way down. DeepSeek came in. Oh, yeah, we don't need all these big chips. Oh, no, all you're investing in these power plants to make big chips, don't need them. Oh, it cost you $100 million to do it. We only did it for $6 million. Oh, and we're the most used AI in the world right now. This is just the beginning. Going back to the tariffs. I agree with tariffs if they have tariffs the way we had them before. Back before World War I, that little slime ball made rotten hell, Woodrow Wilson, who gave us the Federal Reserve, federal income tax, World War I, and the IRS. Before that, we didn't have federal income tax. We had tariffs. McKinley, the president, do you want cheap products or high wages? I want high wages because I could buy other stuff too. I could do other things. I could buy a house, do this, that. Buy a house.
No, you freedom. Yeah.
You look at the average. Once upon a time, not too long ago, first-time home buyers, 40%. 40% of sales of homes went to 40% of home sales were going to first-time home buyers. Now the number's down to 28%. The people are going broke in this country. So yes, I'm in favor of tariffs. It will take a while, but now here's the downside. Again, we look at things for what they are. You got foreign companies coming in here and opening up the plants. They're not American companies, a lot of them. So they're going to be making the dough. And the ones that they're opening up, they're not paying high wages so far, like it's someone in North Carolina just recently. So we got to see how this thing is going to play out.
How did they do tariffs back before? What exactly are you referring to there?
Well, you want to bring the product in here, you got to pay a tariff for it. And it started to change. There were no Rust Belt cities in this country. The Rust Belt started happening when they allowed manufacturing to go overseas. And again, you got to get this, everybody understand this. I talked about China. You look at China's GDP from 1970 to 2000. It's like this. Bill Clinton brings them into the World Trade Organization. Poof. You want to do business in China? Yeah, we want all that cheap labor. The United States and European manufacturers brought China all the high-tech and heavy industry technology they never had. Oh, you want to open up a plant here? You could do it. You got to become a partner with us. You only can own 49% of the plant. We own 51%. China didn't have what it takes right now. Oh, look at BYD. Oh, Tesla's not doing good. Oh, BYD's doing great. They didn't have all this technology until the European and American manufacturers gave it to them. They sold us out so they could make more money. Oh, and again, when I was a young man, I'm the same age as Trump. Once upon a time, they had things called grocery stores, hardware stores, stationery stores, drug stores, shoe stores. Now they're all chains. Chains. They did away with the antitrust laws that made all this happen. Again, that slimeball Bill Clinton, man, that bastard, I hope he rots in damn hell. How he sold this country out. Oh, by the way, I used to do gigs for major corporations. I did one with Madeleine Albright. She was the UN, Clinton's United States ambassador to the UN. And it was on the QE2. It was for the top marketing executives around the world. She opened the gig up. I'm mentioning Madeleine Albright. You could look this up. She's on 60 Minutes with Leslie Stahl. And Leslie Stahl asks her, is the price of 500,000 Iraqi children under the age of 5 that have died because of what Bill Clinton did to Iraq worth the price? And Madeleine Albright said, yes, it's worth the price. This is the Bill Clinton that gave us the Serbian War, the Yugoslav War. This is the Bill Clinton murderous, destroyed this. Oh, the Glass-Steagall Act. I forgot about that one. Oh, yeah. Do away with it. Oh, remember when the banksters crashed the markets in 2008? The dot-com, the panic of 08. We took the domain name out in 2007. We called it was coming. Hey, I'm Jamie Dimon. I'm Goldman Sachs. $29 trillion with a T. $29 trillion, the Federal Reserve, to bail out the banksters. Oh, the Glass-Steagall Act? That Bill Clinton killed in what, 1999? $29 trillion. No, not my numbers. Bard College, Levy Institute, their numbers.
Wow.
It's a crime syndicate running the countries. Morons and imbeciles call them politicians. And to make it clear, this is the way I feel. Could you see that?
Yeah, I mean, that sentiment is held fairly widely all across the world, Gerald.
All across the world.
It's not
Look
just
at
the U.S.
little scumbag they just brought in as the chancellor in waiting over there in Germany, Merz. Hey, where did Merz come from? BlackRock. BlackRock? Yeah, BlackRock. 3 companies, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, own 88% of the S&P 500. Now, what's Germany doing? Oh, the high. You love World War I, World War II? $1 trillion to build up defense because we have to fight Russia. And we're going to put some of that money in infrastructure, too. That's the Germany. Look at that little Catzon Macron with a pecker, if he has one, this big over there in France, with his little fake hair and his little no cojones, marching in front of the guys. We got to build up the military. Sweden, one country after another, all across Europe. Oh, Germany, 3rd largest economy in the world, in recession, 2 quarters, going into deep debt to build up their military. And all these other countries that are going down, building up their military. When all else fails, they take you to war. And that's what World War III has already begun. It's going to become official when there's a big event, like a Pearl Harbor kind of thing. It's already begun. And these maniacs, as their economies are all crashing, you said what freaks they all are, they're going to take us to war.
Are the tariffs connected to an upcoming world war, do you think? Because it would appear that Trump is trying to build out this fortress here in America, i.e., with the tariffs, bring back manufacturing into the United States. With Greenland, get access to the North Pole. Doesn't it seem like he's getting the United States ready? He's prepping us for a war, maybe a couple of years, maybe 5 years down the line with China and or Russia?
There's no way in the world that the United States could win a little jerk off over there, Exert, whatever the hell his name is. The Secretary of Defense. Hey, look what a tough guy I am. I'm doing push-ups with a backpack on. That little clown goes to Taiwan and says the United States is going to defend them against China. China with the biggest naval base force in the world. China with 1.4 billion people. United States hasn't won a war since World War II. Wouldn't have won that one without the Russians. I grew up during the Vietnam War. We only killed 3.5 million people, lost the war. 60,000 American troops, 250,000 seriously wounded. Did a great job in Afghanistan, huh? Longest war in American history. Only cost us a couple of $1 trillion. Oh, how about Iraq? Lost that one too. You're going to beat you're going to beat China and Russia? Grow up, everybody. And that's, by the way, that's what they're doing over in Europe. Everybody get this in your head. Operation Barbarossa, launched by Germany against Russia. They killed over 25 million Russians. Not my words, the words of John F. Kennedy at his speech to graduating students at American University in June of 1963. He goes on to say that we shouldn't hate the people in the Soviet Union. They lost more people in World War II than anybody, and they lost their homes, their factories, their farms, and their land, the equivalent from Chicago to the East Coast. And he said they killed over 20 million of them. They were the first ones to defeat the Germans. All right? You're not going to beat them in a war. And you're not going to beat the Chinese. And I want to make this 100% clear. I launched a movement, Occupy Peace, over a decade ago. Have major rallies from Ralph Nader to Judge Napolitano, Scott Ritter, Joe, on and on and on and on. So I fight for peace. It's not empty words.
You're looking for great deals on gold and silver, coins and bars from a company that you can trust? Then you've got to check out the good folks over at Pimbex. This year, I've really gotten to know these guys, and all I can say is you're not going to deal with a better group of people. They're a family-owned gold and silver online bullion company offering the essentials and more at industry-leading prices while always providing first-class top-tier service. That's PIMBEX.com. And if you're looking to convert some or all of your retirement account into real gold and silver, give Pimbex a call. They'll help explain the process and get you started on the right path. Your support at Pimbex also helps support the channel. So reach out to Pimbex today. You won't be disappointed. And make sure to tell them Danny sent you.
And not one penny for peace in the billionaires, the multimillionaires. Nobody talks about peace. Peace is a dirty word.
So, Jared, let's take it back to the markets really quick, because that is the big story today. I'm looking at the bond market, and I'm seeing, I think we're down 16.5 basis points so far on the 10-year.
What's it at?
What's
it at?
It's at 4.03% now.
All right. That's going to be positive for mortgage rates.
Mm-hmm. And wasn't that Scott Bessent's so-called North Star was the 10-year to bring down interest rates, because the Fed funds rate was ineffective at doing so. But it begs the question, is it worth sacrificing the stock market for the...
Yeah.
You think so?
All right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's look at the data. 1% own 54% of the equity markets. When you put the 10% in, it's about 92%. The average person doesn't have anything in this. But here's the reality of what happens. The average person, again, we put the data in the Trends Journal, by the way, when you put your code in, it costs a grand total of $2.50 a week. Nothing. And we're giving people that they can't find anywhere else. Again, you look at we call the gold bull run. With last year, we said it would be a golden year for gold. So going on to we put the data in each week about how the average person is suffering and they're going down. The equity markets have nothing to do with the average person, but here's the reality. When the stock markets crash, when it crashes on Wall Street, Main Street wakes up and realizes how bad it really is and how they're hurting. That's the downside. Not that they're going to be losing money in it. They feel the reality of it.
Mm-hmm.
They hide the reality of it with the equity markets going up.
Right.
So that's the downside of it. Now, we're going to go into what we call, they call it stagflation, stagnant economies and declining economic growth. We call it dragflation, declining growth and rising inflation. Inflation is going to keep going up. You know, I moved to Rhinebeck, which is upstate New York, back in 1979. And now they call it the Hamptons of the North. Chelsea Clinton got married up here. It was nothing when I came up here. And I bought a parcel, a house on 1984, a house on 8.5 acres. Across the street, 10 acres. The house had to be totally redone. And up the street, 16 acres.
Wow.
8.5, 10, 16. You ready? $28,000. 1984. Reset. Inflation. Inflation's not going to sound. You can't retire now on $1 million. Inflation's going to keep going. The rich are going to keep getting richer, and everybody else is getting poorer. Again, the numbers came out. What's his name? Forbes just did an article this week about the billionaires. Well, they're worth about $16 trillion now. The equity markets had nothing to do with the average person.
Nope. Is that why they're all flocking to gold? Because you did mention that there was this initial flock to gold because of fears of inflation out of the LBMA into the COMEX. But now that it appears that there won't be any tariffs applied to gold and various other commodities, what does that mean? Does that provide a downward pressure on gold, or do you anticipate gold continuing its momentous rise up as investors seek safety?
Absolutely. It's the number one safe haven asset. And the Madeleine Albright story I told you, she led it was on the QE too, because I'm going to talk about gold. But just to show you what freaks they are. Her introduction went for about 15 minutes when they introduced her. She looked like the Queen of Tarts in this red thing. Her grandfather was this, her father was that. She grew up in the Czechoslovakia. Her father has this, and her mother was that. And she has honors in this, and honors in that, and honors in this, and honors in that. Went on for like 10, 15 minutes in introduction. Arrogant piece of crap. I led the thing the next day. And the guy introduces me. He said, Gerald Celente, his book, Trend Tracking, far better than Megatrends, Time Magazine, Trends 2000, international bestseller, the magazine, the Trends Journal, blah, 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 blah. I said, thank you very much for that introduction. I got applause. I said, but I felt shortchanged. I said, I heard 15 minutes of Madeleine Albright yesterday. You only gave me a couple of minutes here, introduction. There was a pause and everybody broke out clapping and laughing. And I said, what you also forgot to say is that I graduated PS 76 in the Bronx without honors, I'm just making this clear because it's one big club and you ain't in it, as George Carlin said. And that's all this club is. Now I'm going to go back to gold. I have a photograph of me and John Connolly. John Connolly was the governor of Texas that sat in front of JFK and took the bullet in the back. You could look the video up. His wife, Nellie, throws himself on top of him. He wanted to meet me in 1992 when I had this book, Trend Tracking. Because in this book that I wrote in 1989, I had forecast there'd be a new third party. And someone like Ross Perot was the person they were looking for. And by the way, there's never been a better time in America in my lifetime, even back then, for a new third party. But you need the money to make it happen. Anyway, I have a photograph of me and John Connolly and his wife, Nellie, in front of the book depository where he took the bullet in the back. The first time back since the assassination. As we're going back into the Anatole Hotel, he said to me, I read your book. He says, it's a fine piece of work, and I know your heart's in the right place, but you don't have a clue what's going on. And neither do the American people, because if they did, there'd be a revolution in this country. Not only is this the John Connally, the Democratic governor at the time, who took the bullet in the back sitting in front of Kennedy. I'm going back to gold. He's the John Connally that was the U.S. Treasury Secretary under Richard Nixon, Republican.
I see where you're going with this.
That took us off the gold standard.
And so the dollar's demise really started, not just the dollar's demise, but you see all of these wealth disparities really begin in 1971. There's a website out there, I'm sure you're well aware of it, called WTF Happened in 1971. And you'll see all of 71 was literally the inflection point of everything that we're seeing today.
All right. And do you know why it happened? No one anywhere talks about it.
Why?
Vietnam War. Spending all that money to murder people. Fake money. That's what happened.
They needed the printing press.
Yep. Nobody talks about it. Nobody.
And that was really the precursor to it all. I mean, that was the model that was later used in Iraq and Afghanistan and, the forever wars that we've long since been in for decades now.
Yep. Again, I was prime draft meat back in the day. And I did everything I could to beat the draft. And I want to make this clear. As a young guy, I was stupid enough to swallow the crap that if we don't stop those commies, they're going to take over all of Asia. And the dominoes will keep falling. William Buckley, a little arrogant. And those dominoes will keep falling. They'll hit the shores of California. I believed it as a young kid, in my teens and early 20s. I didn't want to go to get my brains blown out. That's why that's why I went to college. And the only school I could get into was Morris Harvey College in Charleston, West Virginia, a greaser from the Bronx. And I hated every day of school. But I did it to beat the draft. By the way, Trump and Biden, both draft dodgers, they love war. Trump got like a bunch of deferments. His daddy got him out. He got a bone spur on my ankle. Yeah.
Jared, are you talking about the peace president like that?
Yeah, piece of crap. Lied his way into it. And now he's bombed. Oh, going back to the war. I forgot to say this. No, it's not going to happen in a couple of years. If the United States and Israel go to war against Iran, this is going to be the beginning of life, end of life on Earth. Iran is a very sophisticated country. These are the Persians. The cats have been around a long time. They're very advanced militarily, scientifically, and technologically. There are 91 million of them. There are 7 million Jewish people living in Israel. You don't have to be good at math to figure this out. If the United States goes to war against them, that's going to be the beginning and end of life on Earth. Because look it up. This, about the Samson option?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If Israel loses, they say they're going nuclear. And they have between 200 to 400 nuclear warheads.
But can the United States under Trump afford to go into a war with Iran? Because it seems like they had a 1-2 punch plan, meaning that they wanted to end the war in Ukraine, at least the United States involvement in Ukraine, so they would able to be free. They'd free their logistics up to go to war with Iran. But ending the war in Ukraine is proving to be, it's proven to take much longer than 24 hours, which is what we were initially told at first. That seems to be a major stumbling block. Putin seems to be very patient. Trump seems to be in a rush to get it done, but they still haven't sealed the deal yet. And then the other day, you had China move into the Taiwan Strait, as if to say, "Hey, keep your hands off Iran, otherwise we're going to take Taiwan." So do you think that there is this kind of coordination between Russia and China to protect Iran in these kind of indirect ways, so that the United States?
Iran doesn't need any. Iran doesn't need it. They'll wipe out. They'll blow Israel off the map in a flash. And then again, I launched Occupy Peace. It's not empty words. I read your rallies. I read George Washington's farewell address. Yeah, remember the George Washington, the cat that crossed the Delaware? Not like these little clown boys that couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag, that are all tough guys playing president. Read his farewell address. He said, don't love a nation, don't hate a nation. Because if you do, you become a slave to them. And basically, don't get involved in these foreign entanglements. This has been going on for centuries. And we're not going to fix it. We're the United States. We protect our own country. I don't believe in globalization. Again, people believe what you want to believe. Don't tell me what to do. I won't tell you what to do. This crap has been going on for how long? Oh, you like, yeah, only facts. Go to History Today. Mainstream. Google, type up Franklin Roosevelt seizes Japanese assets. Type it up. Everybody listening. In July 26, 1941, Franklin Roosevelt seized all Japanese assets in America. You know why?
Yep.
Because those dirty Japanese invaded French Indochina. Hey, French Indochina? What are the French doing in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos? And you're calling it French Indochina? Shut the hell up, Celente. We're stealing their rubber. We're stealing their tin. We're robbing, pillaging, raping. We're the French. It's French Indochina. Hey, everybody, you forgot the sun never sets on the British Empire? Oh, they only killed some 400 million people in India throughout their occupation. And they call it the royal family. They dress up in all these drag costumes. If they were Italian, you'd call them a mafia. They're murderous bastards. Anyway, going back to World War II, the Japanese, the Dutch East Indies, you look this up, and the UK, the British, and the United States put sanctions on Japan, cut off 3/4 of their global trade and 88% of their imported oil. They only import 100%. Okay, so here you go. I'm Japan. You stole my money. You cut off all my trade, and I can't get any oil. Can't understand why they bombed Pearl Harbor. I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, and it says here Japan's military would soon grind to a halt. So,
yeah. So what I'm saying is they lie us into wars. And they're going to do it again. And the same thing with, look at they're doing over there, killing all these people in Yemen. And again, the Saudi Arabia, the king. It's a crime syndicate that was invented in 1934. And the first thing they tried to do was to attack the Houthis in Yemen back then. And the Nobel Peace of Crap Prize winner, Barack Obama, along with that little dick of shit, Anthony Blinken, who was the undersecretary under Obama, going over to Saudi Arabia, providing them with strategic alliance. We were refueling the Saudi planes to bomb Yemen, where they killed well over 500,000 people. Oh, this is the Anthony Blinken. I went to Dalton. I went to Harvard. My daddy was the ambassador to Hungary. My uncle was the ambassador to Belgium. Arrogant little bastards and bitches are running the world. Look at the freak show. And you call these guys out man to man, they don't know whether they're a piece of shit. They're gutless little boys, but boy, do they act tough.
Yeah, well, I think on that note, well, actually, one more thing. There seems to be this back and forth, this game of deception being played, at least on the part of Europe and the United States. One week, Trump's fighting with Zelensky. The other week, he's made up with him. Another week, he threatens to leave NATO. Just the other day, Marco Rubio says the United States is not leaving NATO. What makes you think that? And we also saw these secondary tariffs being dropped on Russia as well, which means for those in the audience who may not know, that means that they're going to start tariffing people or countries that do business with Russia. So where does Trump, we understand where his positioning is in the Middle East, but it's kind of murky in Eastern Europe. Where do you think he actually stands as it relates to there?
I think he's totally to try to do what he can to end the Ukraine war. But it's going to be totally useless. I got banned from TikTok. And the reason is I had forecast that Ukraine is going to do everything they can to ramp up this war. False flag event, bombing a nuclear power plant, keep bombing Russian oil depots and pipelines, etc. They're going to do everything. I got banned for that permanently. Putin's not going to give back what they've taken in
Luhansk and Donetsk.
They're not going to give back what they got. Here, this is your Trends Journal. See how happy that guy is? This is from 2014. The United States overthrow of the democratically elected government of Viktor Yanukovych in Ukraine. People have no idea about that. Remember Victoria Nuland passing out cookies with John McCain and candy, being caught on the phone with that little guy, Jeffrey Pyatt, another little jerk of nothing that was the United States ambassador to Ukraine. And she says, fuck the EU, we're going to put little Yats in New York after they overthrew the government, as they were overthrowing it. People have no idea about this. People have no idea about how the Ukraine Nazi group, the Azovs, how they were killing over 15,000 people, Russian people in the Donbass region. They have no idea about this. None. So Putin is not going to give back the 20% of the land that they took. And no, they didn't steal Crimea. They had a vote. Over 96% of the people. Again, this has been going back for centuries, back and forth. Ukraine's Russia, this and that. What, you want to go back to Catherine the Great? Again, it goes back to George Washington saying, don't get involved in this stuff. It's been going on for centuries. And again, they had a vote. 96% of the people in Crimea, they didn't want to have anything to do with Ukraine. Oh, and that was a vote that was according to the polls, the organization that does this when there's voting was 100% legitimate. So they're not going to give back any of that land. And Ukraine's going to do everything they can to keep fighting it. And now you're seeing all of Europe unite to keep fighting this war. Again, look at the little clowns you got. The best cartoonist in the world could not have come out with a freakier little piece of jerk shit than Boris Johnson of the UK. You look at that little clown boy, and now you got this gutless little clown Starmer. A little boy of nothing in the UK, ramping up the military as their economy's in stagflation, or dragflation, actually. Yeah. They're going to do everything they can to ramp that war up. And again, in the cover of this week's Trends Journal, Golden Prophecy, no safe haven asset spikes. Number one safe haven asset spikes to new highs as world keeps sinking to new lows. What's gold prices now?
Gold is, I believe, 2130. Yeah, 2130. Or,
Is
or
it
sorry,
up or down?
3130. 3130.
Up or down for the day?
It's still down. It's down about 1.1%.
How many dollars is it down?
36.50.
Okay. And what are the markets right now?
The market seemed to have rebounded a tiny bit since we started talking. Dow was down 3%, S&P down 3.7, and Nasdaq is down 4.8. Nasdaq was about 5.5 when we started our
Right.
conversation. So it's
Again, there's something else that everybody should be watching in a lot of countries, and that's what we're calling the office building bust. When they launched the COVID war, they made people work from home. Your office vacancy rate in the 10 largest cities in America is at 10%. Excuse me, 20%. 20% vacant. It's not coming back. Yes, it's going to become a lot of them coming back, but a lot of them aren't. And the loans that are now, it's 5 years later, there are about $2 to $4 trillion worth of loans coming down in the next 3 years. There's going to be a lot of defaults on office buildings, and that's going to bring down a number of banks. So that's something to look at that nobody's talking about, that we're writing about in the Trends Journal. Again, we only put the facts in. I'll give you a fact. Last year, 50th Street, Main Street, 50th Street, New York City, Midtown Manhattan. Google it up. Building, Sports Illustrated used to be there, a number of companies. They sold it in 2006 for over $300 million. It went up for auction last year. It sold for $8.5 million. The buildings built in the last 50 years are non-convertible to apartments and residential. They're empty spaces. No windows on this side, no windows on that side, no windows in the back. Midtown Manhattan, in the middle of the block. You got to knock the damn thing down and build something else. There's going to be office building bust, and it's going to bring down banks. And so watch the bank stocks too.
Here in the United States. What about the banks in Europe? Because I've been hearing a lot of chatter that those are probably the spark that sets off the chain of dominoes.
It well may be. Absolutely.
Well, okay. I'm looking at the markets now, 4.7% down on the NASDAQ. So we'll continue to monitor this, see what happens. But it seems they may have gotten a very mild, very, very mild dead cat bounce, but they're still vastly down on the day. I'm seeing Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says Trump's tariffs will spur countries to examine their trade policies. He did place a 40-some-odd% tariff on Vietnam, a 36% tariff on China. What do you think will be the ramifications with that, especially the United States' dependency on Chinese manufacturing with all these?
Again, we shouldn't be dependent on it.
Yeah, I understand, but what do you think is going to happen in the immediate term?
Immediate terms, it's going to drive up it's going to take years to make it happen. And again, but the companies have to be United States owned, not foreign. And by the way, Vietnam, and I talked earlier about, those dirty commies, right? It's still a communist country. That's our second largest importer. We import more clothing, shoes, and furniture from Vietnam other than China. They're still commies, communist China, but we went to war against them. That's the sickness of what they sell. No, I went to Vietnam, by the way, in 1996. Me and my buddy, we went from the Mekong Delta way up to Hanoi. And we were like one of the first Americans that went in there after the war. The people were so kind. And I got to tell you, the food in Saigon, oh, man, the French and Asians, it was some of the best. And there was only one time that we were hated for being Americans. Everybody else, I have a load of photos. I was 50 years old at the time. It was, the people were so nice. But anyway, I want to talk about self-sufficient governments. And the facts are there. Let's go back to the beginning of the Ukraine war. February 24th, 2022. Biden puts sanctions on Russia. One company after another. Remember, they're all pulling out of Russia. Starbucks, but all these companies pulling out. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Out of his mind, Biden said Putin's going to pay the price. They didn't pay the price. Yeah, the economy went down initially, and then their economy kept growing. We said Russia has all of the human and natural resources they need to be self-sufficient. And that's exactly what happened. They became a self-sufficient economy. And no, the war isn't building up the economy, and I give you the proof of it. They're selling that BS line in Europe and the UK right now that building up the military will build up their economy. No, the money only goes into the military industrial complex. You build up an economy when you manufacture products that people buy. Nobody's buying the bombs, the planes, the weapons. That's just going into the military industrial complex pocket. So this isn't going to build the economy. Russia's economy got built because they became more self-sustaining. They're manufacturing the products that people are buying. They took over all the companies that the other ones pulled out of. Same thing's going on with China. There's 1.4 billion people. No, we don't need Gucci. We got our own now. They're doing out their own. They're becoming self-sufficient. And America has all the human and natural resources we need to be self-sufficient.
That's what I was going to say. Are those two analogs of what could happen with these tariffs? I.e., we do take a little bit of a hit. We take the medicine early on, but then at the end of the road, we do become more self-sufficient.
Yeah. Yep. Again, made in USA. But again, not my land. But again, I don't want to pay income tax. And I'm tired of Trump. Again, I only put the facts in the magazine. And when he get that tax break, and when he was president back in 2017, he said the corporations would use this money for capital improvements. They didn't. According to the Tax Policy Center, the 1% got 64% of the tax benefits, and in 2018 was the biggest year of stock buybacks ever. Mm-hmm. They didn't put it into capital improvements. They put it into their pocket.
Right. Now, what if all these tariffs are just negotiation tactics, meaning that Trump doesn't really anticipate any staying power on them? It's just a means to get everyone to negotiate and get everyone on the table.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. You got to see what he's going to do. He says one thing a lot of times and does another thing. Remember, you said he's going to end the war in 24 hours in Ukraine. Hey, elect me. I'll end it in 24 hours. Now that I'm elected, hey, that war's going to end in before I get into office. Not my language is. The war's still going on. So he says one thing. By the way, I had lunch with his brother, Robert, back in 2017. And he had a restaurant over here in Wasake, which is across the river. I was with him for about 3 hours. A nice guy. If you asked me what he looked like, my Aunt Zizzy would have said, hey, he would pass in the street. Regular guy. And he said when the father died, I think it was 2002, he said, he left him over $500 million worth of real estate.
To the brother?
No, to the family. When the father died, he left $500 million worth of real estate to his brothers and sisters. So Trump's a spoiled daddy's boy. Trump and I, we're the same age, right? In one of my books, of everything I've written, this is my favorite. You get it on what Zizzy gave Honey Boy. There used to be a TV show, Everyone Loves Raymond. The woman, Doris Roberts, the last starring role is playing my aunt. And Zizzy is the Neapolitan dialect for auntie. Z is aunt, Zizzy's auntie. And Doris Roberts died 15 minutes into the movie. You can get it on YouTube. But anyway, I write in the book when I was a kid growing up in the Bronx, they couldn't control me and my brothers. And now the greatest threat they used to give us, little bastard, we had enough of this, you're going to military school. I'll be good. Trump was so out of it, they sent him to military school. In Cornwall, New York, which is about an hour, not less than an hour, about 40 minutes south of me over here, in the middle of nowhere. So imagine being a teenager, getting dressed up in a stupid drag every day. Time to get up, time to go to sleep, eat this. And my mother, may she rest in peace, a fine Italian woman cooking. I'm going to eat this stuff. Trump was so out of it, so narcissistic, they sent him to military school. They couldn't control him.
Well, that set the stage for everything else that was to come.
Yep.
Down the
He's
line.
into his own trip. That's it.
Yeah. Well, hey, Gerald, it has been quite a pleasure as always in having you on. I'm a big fan of you and a big fan of the Trends Journal, and I can encourage my listeners and viewers to check out the Trends Journal. Link is down below, trendsjournal.com, and hit the coupon code, Capital Cosm, it's the name of the channel, and get a special 10% discount on your subscription.
Yeah. So $2.50 a week, or you could buy the Wall Street Journal for $5 a day, or the toilet paper record, the New York Times, for $4 a day. There's $2.50 a week when you put that in there. And again, we're giving people history before it happens. If anybody could find, look at the comments. There's no magazine like in the world.
Great detail. I mean, I've looked through a number of the issues that you've released, and I mean, the level of detail and information and data that you provide. I mean, it is like I like to liken, things like this to, you're kind of like outsourcing an analyst to, if you're the CEO of your portfolio, then someone like the Trends Journal is your outsourced analyst, your research team, so to speak, because you may not have the time to actually go out and, and get into the nitty gritty with all of this stuff in the markets, the economy, geopolitics, and not only that, but kind of interweave it together. You bring on an outsourced research team to do the work for you, and I think that's a good place for you guys to be in.
Thank you.
So awesome, Gerald. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
Yeah, everybody get in the best shape you can, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. We're in the fight for our lives, and it's up to we the people to bring peace on earth. And so do something positive every day, particularly for people that need it the most.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, definitely try to influence the sphere, your local sphere. People always try to go out and, try to impact changes on the global sphere. Well, sometimes you have to go local to be able to branch out from there. So excellent as always, Gerald. Guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, go, Gerald, go in the comment section. If you disagreed with anything we talked about, that's fine too. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you disagreed on. I do read the comments. Like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And also check us out on Substack, capitalcosm.substack.com, where you can get early access, ad-free versions, and uncensored content for the videos that warrant it. And also don't forget to check out the Trends Journal, trendsjournal.com, coupon code, Capital Cosm for your special 10% discount. All right, guys, I'll see you next episode. Bye, y'all.